If you are over 60 and you notice that names slip away faster, that you walk into a room and forget why you went there, even though you are trying to eat fairly well and watch your weight, this message is for you. Because the thing that may be quietly hurting your memory the most is not the extra 10 or 20 pounds around your middle. It is the long, quiet hours you spend at home by yourself with no one to talk to, no one to laugh with, and no real reason to get your brain firing. Health experts are sounding the alarm that social disconnection and feeling alone and cut off can be as dangerous for your health as heavy smoking, and in many ways, even more dangerous than obesity and physical inactivity. On top of that, large studies show that feeling lonely raises your chance of developing dementia by around 30%, which is very similar to or even higher than the risk linked to carrying extra weight in midlife. So, staying home alone day after day can actually be worse for your memory than carrying extra weight on the scale. That is surprising, and for many people, it is a little scary, but it is also hopeful because it means that even if changing your weight feels hard right now, you can still do a lot to protect your brain by changing how connected you are. In this conversation, we are going to talk about simple ways to protect your memory by breaking out of that lonely at home pattern, even if you live alone, even if you have pain, even if your energy is low and you do not drive much anymore. We will talk about how social connection acts like exercise for your brain, how you can build that connection even from your living room, and how to create a routine that keeps your memory sharper for years to come. Before we jump in, if staying healthy and independent matters to you, consider subscribing to this channel and turning on notifications so you do not miss tips that doctors often do not have time to explain during a short visit. And tell me in the comments where you are watching from the United States, the United Kingdom, Canada, or somewhere else. I love seeing how far our senior health community reaches. Now, let us start with the big idea. For most of your life, you probably heard that weight is the big villain. Too many pounds means higher blood pressure, more strain on your heart, more risk for diabetes, and more risk for dementia later on. And that is true, especially in midlife. Being very overweight between ages 35 and 65 clearly raises dementia risk later in life. But here is what we often do not hear. When people reach their 70s and 80s, it is not just weight that matters anymore. Things like loneliness, social isolation, and feeling cut off from friends and family start to play a huge role. Social isolation and loneliness increase the risk of high blood pressure, heart disease, obesity, weakened immunity, anxiety, depression, cognitive decline, Alzheimer's disease, and even early death. In many large studies that follow thousands of people, those who feel lonely have a much higher risk of dementia than those who feel connected. In some research, that increased risk is around one-third higher. That is a big difference. On top of that, work in people who are already overweight shows that social isolation predicts dying earlier, better than many lifestyle risk factors. In other words, being cut off from others can be even more dangerous than the extra weight itself. So imagine two people in their 70s. One is a bit heavy but has a regular coffee group chats with the neighbor volunteers once a week and talks to family often. The other is quite slim, eats fairly well, but spends almost every day alone at home with a television and maybe a phone call every few weeks. The science suggests that the second person, the isolated one, may actually have a higher risk that their memory will fade faster. That is why I say this. If you are over 60, staying home alone is often worse for your memory than obesity. The good news is that you are not stuck. It is not too late to make a change. Growing older does not mean giving up, it means using smarter strategies. So let us look at some of those strategies together. First, we need to see loneliness for what it really is. Loneliness is not just a sad feeling that you are supposed to tough out. It is a warning light on the dashboard of your body. Some health leaders compare the health impact of being socially disconnected to smoking many cigarettes a day and say it can carry a greater risk than obesity and physical inactivity. Think about that. If you saw an older friend smoking heavily every day, you would feel concerned. But if the same friend spends every day alone in a silent house, we often shrug and say, at least they are not smoking. Yet to your brain and your heart, that constant isolation is like stress slowly dripping into your system. When you are alone too much, your stress hormones stay slightly elevated. Your sleep is often lighter and more broken. Your immune system works differently. Over time, that mixture can damage blood vessels and brain cells. Scientists even see changes in certain proteins and markers in the blood of lonely people that are linked to inflammation and diseases such as stroke and diabetes. So if you notice that long stretches of silence make your thoughts feel foggy, your mood heavier, or your memory weaker, that is your body talking to you. It is not weakness. It is a signal that you need more connection, the same way thirst tells you that you need water. Here is the encouraging part. Unlike your age or your basic genetic makeup, loneliness is something you can change step by step, even if you have very real limits like pain, money concerns, or transportation problems. So let us talk about practical steps. I will share several simple changes you can make so that your brain has more of the rich social and mental nutrition it needs, even if you live alone. One powerful change is to build at least one real human connection into every single day. Think of your brain like a muscle in your legs. If you do not use it, it weakens. A single conversation, even a short one, makes your brain lift a little weight. You listen. You think of words, you remember stories, you read body language. It is like a mini workout for your mind. If your days are mostly quiet, start with something very small. Maybe it is a phone call with a friend or family member. Maybe it is a quick chat with the cashier when you buy groceries. Maybe it is a short check in with a neighbor just to say hello and ask how their day is going. You can even set a tiny daily goal. For example, today I will speak out loud to at least one person who's not television. Tomorrow I will do the same. It does not need to be deep or long, just regular, real contact. Many older adults notice that after a good conversation, even a brief one, their memory feels sharper for the rest of the day. They remember where they put their keys, they follow the plot of a show more easily, they feel more awake inside. That is not a coincidence. Your brain thrives on that kind of stimulation. If you feel shy or out of practice, you can prepare a few simple questions to use. Things like, how has your day been? What are you working on this week? Or what are you looking forward to soon? Then listen and let the conversation unfold. Over time, that daily habit can become the backbone of your brain health routine. Another helpful shift is to move your body with other people whenever you can, even in very gentle ways. Physical activity in later life is strongly linked to a lower risk of dementia. When you combine that movement with social connection, you give your brain a double benefit. Maybe that looks like a walking group in your neighborhood, even if you walk slowly and only for 10 or 15 minutes. Maybe it is a gentle chair exercise class at a senior center or a dance group that plays old songs you love. If you cannot get out easily, there are online classes where you can see other faces and move together. Picture yourself sitting at home. Your joints feel stiff, your thoughts feel dull, and you are tempted to stay in your chair all day. Now picture a different scene. You meet two neighbors once a week to walk half a block and back. You do it slowly, you rest if you need to, but you laugh about the weather, you point out a bird, you remember a story from years ago. Your heart pumps a little faster, your leg muscles fire, your brain has to keep up with the conversation. That short walk has just done more for your memory than another hour in front of the television with a perfectly healthy snack. You do not need to become an athlete. Even small amounts of movement with others can ease pain, improve balance, and keep blood flowing to your brain, which supports memory. Here is another simple thing you can do. Use conversation as a way to train your memory directly. When you talk with someone, try telling a short story from your past instead of keeping the talk only on the weather or the news. Maybe the story is about your first job, a funny mistake from childhood, or a trip you took when your children were young. As you tell it, your brain has to pull pieces from different file folders, names, places, sounds, smells, feelings, that is like your brain doing a set of exercises in the gym. Then next time you talk to that person, you can say, last time we spoke, you told me about your garden. How is it doing now? That simple act of recalling the previous conversation strengthens your memory pathways. If you are having a hard time remembering words, do not feel ashamed. You can say, give me a moment, it will come to me. You can describe what you mean until the word arrives. The key is to stay in the game. Every time you reach for a word or a name, you are teaching your brain to keep trying. Over time, that persistence makes a difference. You can turn this into a gentle daily practice. For example, after a phone call, sit quietly for 1 minute and recall three details from that conversation. Maybe what the other person was wearing, one thing that makes you smile, and one thing they said they were going to do. You can say it out loud to yourself. This kind of deliberate recall is like balance training for your memory. Now, you might be thinking that these ideas sound good, but that your friends are busy or far away, or that people do not visit much anymore. That is where technology can become a helpful bridge instead of a wall. Many seniors feel intimidated by smartphones, tablets, or computers, and that is completely understandable. New buttons and menus can be frustrating, but once you get past the first hurdle, these tools can give you the gift of more faces, more voices, and more connection without leaving home. You can use video calls to see your grandchildren or old friends. Watching a face, seeing expressions, sharing a smile, all of that lights up more areas of your brain than just listening to a voice. Video calls can feel surprisingly close to being in the same room, and your brain responds to that richness. You can join an online group that meets regularly. There are book clubs for older adults, hobby group support circles, even gentle exercise classes, all available through simple apps. Many libraries and community centers offer free or low-cost help to get you set up. If you feel unsure, ask a younger family member, a neighbor, or someone at your local senior center to sit with you and help you learn one simple thing at a time. First, how to answer a video call, then how to make one, then how to join a meeting link. You do not have to become a technology expert. You simply need a few basic skills that open doors to more connection. Remember, staring at a screen alone all day does not help much, but using a screen to see and talk with real people can be a powerful medicine for your mind. Another strategy that works very well is to create weekly anchors for your social life. Daily contact is important, but weekly routines give structure and something to look forward to. Think of them as posts in the ground that hold up a fence. Without them, your days all blur together. With them, your week has shape. An anchor could be a regular club or group. Maybe it is a choir that meets on Tuesdays, a faith gathering on Sundays, a knitting circle on Thursdays, or a card game on Fridays. It could be a volunteer shift like helping at a food bank, reading to children at the library, or making phone calls to check on other seniors who live alone. Having a sense of purpose and belongings is strongly related to better cognitive health. People who feel that others rely on them often say mentally sharper and emotionally stronger. So ask yourself, what small role could I play each week that connects me to others? Maybe you are the one who always brings a funny story. Maybe you are the person who remembers birthdays. Maybe you set up chairs or you call people who miss a meeting to see how they are. The key is consistency. When your brain knows that on Wednesday afternoon you always see this group of people, it relaxes a bit. You have something to anticipate, to prepare for, to remember afterward. That rhythm is very soothing for memory. At this point, if you are finding these ideas helpful, please tap the like button. It tells me that this kind of content is useful for you and it helps more seniors find this information and protect their own health. And if you have not subscribed yet, consider doing that now because we are only halfway through the ideas that can help your memory. Another powerful approach is to build connection through service even if you are not very mobile. Loneliness often whispers that you are a burden, that you have nothing to give. That is not true. The truth is that your lifetime of experience is incredibly valuable, especially to younger people and to other older adults who feel lost. Volunteering does not always mean standing all day or lifting heavy boxes. It can mean making phone calls to check in on others, writing encouraging notes, helping with simple office tasks, or sharing your skills through online or telephone mentoring. When you help someone else, your brain has to plan, organize, and respond. You remember names, keep track of tasks, and adjust to new situations. That mental effort keeps your cognitive circuits active. At the same time, you feel needed and appreciated, which lifts your mood and lowers stress, both good for memory. You can start very small. Ask a community leader, a church, or a senior center if there is someone you could call once a week to say hello. Or ask if there is a simple role you can play from home, like stuffing envelopes or making reminder calls for appointments. Every time you reach out in service, you are not only helping another person, you are also teaching your own brain that you matter, that you still have a role, that you are connected to the larger world. To make all of this easier, it helps to have your home set up in a way that welcomes connections rather than shutting it out. If you feel embarrassed about clutter or mess, you might avoid inviting people in. If your phone is hard to hear or your doorbell does not work, you might miss chances to talk. If your favorite chair faces only the television, you might forget to even look at the phone or tablet where messages arrive. You do not need a perfect house. You simply need a space that says, I am open to people. That could mean clearing one small area where friends can sit comfortably. It could mean making sure there is good light so you can see faces clearly. It could mean placing the phone somewhere easy to reach and keeping it charged so you do not miss calls. You might place a small note on your table that says call someone or text your granddaughter as a reminder. You might put a list of numbers next to the phone so you do not have to search when you feel like talking. These small environmental changes make it easier to act on the desire for connection when it appears instead of thinking there's too much trouble right now. Over time, that can make a big difference in how many warm moments you have each week. Now, you may be saying to yourself that this all sounds good, but that you have real barriers. Maybe you have hearing loss trouble, walking money worries, or you have lost people close to you, and you feel you no longer fit anywhere. I want to honor that. These are not small things. Hearing problems can make social situations exhausting. You might avoid gatherings because you cannot catch all the words and you feel left out. In that case, ask your doctor or clinic about hearing checks and devices. Even a basic amplifier can make conversation less tiring. And when you are with people, tell them clearly that you hear better if they face you and speak a little more slowly. Most people are happy to adjust when they understand what you need. If walking is difficult, focus on connections that do not require travel. Phone circles, video calls, online groups, or visits where others come to you can all nourish your brain. You can also ask a local community group if they have transportation help. Many areas have volunteers who drive seniors to events or appointments. If money is tight, remember that the richest forms of connection are usually free. A walk with a neighbor, a call with a friend, a library group, a free class at a community center, a volunteer role. You do not need a fancy gym or restaurant to feed your brain. If you are grieving or anxious in social setting, be gentle with yourself and start very small. Maybe your first step is not a group, but one safe person. Maybe you stay only 10 or 15 minutes at a gathering, then leave before you feel drained. Over time, as your confidence grows, you can say longer or add more events. The important thing is this: do not accept the idea that being old means being alone. It does not. You deserve company, laughter, and conversation just as much now as you ever did, and your brain depends on it. To pull all these ideas together, let us imagine a simple day that protects your memory better than any strict diet alone could do. You wake up and take a moment to stretch gently in bed. You remind yourself that today you will connect with at least one person. You eat your breakfast, maybe oatmeal with berries and nuts instead of a sugary cereal, which is good for your brain and your waistline. Late morning, you call a friend. You ask how they are. You share a memory from years ago and you both chuckle. After the call, you sit quietly for a minute and recall three details from the conversation to strengthen your memory. In the afternoon, you join a gentle exercise group. Maybe you go in person, maybe you join online. You move your arms and legs while following an instructor. You see other faces, you hear their comments, you feel that you are part of something larger. In the evening, you attend a weekly club or group. Perhaps it is a faith gathering, a discussion circle, or a game night. You listen, you speak, you remember names, you feel tired in a good way afterward, the way your legs feel after a walk. Before bed, instead of worrying about every small thing you forgot during the day, you take a moment to notice what you did for your brain. You say to yourself, I talk with two people. I move my body. I use my memory on purpose. I reach out instead of staying silent. You let yourself feel a quiet sense of pride. Days like that, repeated again and again, are what protect your memory over the long haul. They act together with your food choices, your medications, your sleep, and your medical care. And the beautiful thing is this: you can begin building a day like that starting tomorrow, no matter what your weight is. Let us quickly recap the most important points so they stay in your mind. Staying home alone day after day is not just boring or lonely, it is an active risk factor for your memory and your overall health, one that can be as harmful as obesity, and in some ways, even more serious. Social isolation increases stress, weakens your body defenses, and speeds up cognitive decline. Your brain needs conversation, laughter, shared stories, and a sense of belonging the way your muscles need movement and your heart needs blood flow. You can give your brain that nourishment in very simple ways. One real human contact each day, some movement with others, even very gentle. Stories and conversations that make you reach into your memory. Technology used as a bridge to faces and voices. Weekly anchors like clubs, classes, or volunteer roles that give structure and purpose. A home environment that welcomes connection. Practical solutions for barriers like hearing loss pain or shyness. You do not need to overhaul your entire life overnight. Even small adjustments like a regular phone call or a weekly group can make a big difference over time. As we close, I want to leave you with this. Your body and your brain are always trying to heal and strengthen themselves. They have been doing this for you since the day you were born. Growing older is not a sign that they have stopped. It is a sign that they need your cooperation in new ways. You may carry extra weight. You may have some aches. You may have days where your memory feels fuzzy. That does not mean the story is over. It is not too late to make a change. Every step you take towards more connection is a step toward a sharper memory, a more stable mood, and a longer period of independence. I know that aging can be frightening. The fear of losing your memories, of needing help for every small thing, of becoming a burden is very real. But you are not alone in this. Many people your age are facing the same worries, and many are discovering that by changing how isolated they are, they can slow down decline and feel hopeful again. Every better choice you make, every time you pick up the phone instead of turning up the television, every time you join a group instead of staying home as an act of courage, those choices strengthen your legs, your heart, your brain, and your future freedom. One day at a time, one conversation at a time, you are taking charge of your health. Now, I would love to hear from you. Which idea in this video surprised you the most? Was it the fact that loneliness can raise dementia risk so much? Was it the comparison to smoking or obesity? Or was it the simple power of one conversation a day? Share your thoughts or your own experience with loneliness and memory in the comments. I read what you write there, and your story may help someone else feel less alone. Tell me also what is one small change you're willing to make after watching this. Maybe it is calling a friend tomorrow, joining a group this week, or asking someone to help you set up video calls. Writing it down in the comments can help you follow through, and it may give others ideas too. If this message helped you or opened your eyes even a little, please press the like button. It means a lot, and it helps more seniors discover information that could protect their brains and their independence. And if you have not subscribed yet, consider doing that now and turning on notifications so you do not miss future videos about staying strong, sharp, and independent in your later years. Your health and your freedom are worth that effort. If you are still with me and you are determined to stay strong and connected, type the number 1 in the comments. If you are unsure or you disagree, you can type 0. Your honest voice is welcome here. Stay strong, stay connected, and remember this. Your independence is not just carried by your legs, it is also carried by your relationships. Keep taking those small steps toward other people. Over time, they add up to giant strides for your memory and your life.